Hello, world.
Welcome.
And welcome to the Super Cinema Podcast. My name is Austin.
And I'm Josiah.
All right, welcome. We're so glad you can join us. Quick programming note. When we originally recorded this episode, we had some technical difficulties. My iPhone overheated.
So we've re-recorded the ending of this episode, trying to keep our thoughts as close to what we had them before, maybe changing it up a tiny bit. But yeah, thank you. Please bear with us with this change. It's going to be a little bit weird, but you know, we love to embrace the weird. So,
and with that said, enjoy the episode. My name is Austin. I am a layman who enjoys movies and anime and films and all types of visual media. And my friend here is Mr. Josiah, a professional storyboarder in the animation industry. Josiah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Man. Yeah. I don't think I've eaten enough eggs this morning, but if we want to assess that, I'm totally cool with it. You were wanting to talk about movies though? What are we watching here? I mean,
it's the fact that I'm doing this in my car for our inaugural episode. I hope that in 10 years, when we look back, when I'm doing this in a Bugatti instead of a Toyota Yaris, then we will be like, wow, we really had a fun journey, you know? And the treasure are the friends that we made on the way. And so, yeah. But you know what? The inside of this car has great insulation, and I think it's going to do wonders for the sound quality. So, yeah. And in the meantime, let's review a movie.
I think I'm going to go in reverse, though. Like, I got a pretty nice situation here that I'm in. By the end of it, I'm just going to be streaming from, like, under a bridge.
Yeah.
My favorite bridge. It's going to be raining every time that, I'm filming, because I'll make that happen somehow. And sharing lunches, man. You know? The friends that we made along the way. I'll have a bunch of friends along the way in my video.
Right. I didn't want to bring up your nice setup because it makes me look bad. But, it's a very nice setup. It's very cool, and I'm glad that you have nice things. So
we got a house. I'll spend $5 to demake my situation. This gonna look like Gotham. It's like, yeah. I'm just chilling right outside of Penguin's nightclub. I couldn't get in, and that weirdo Bruce Wayne couldn't get in either.
Yeah. So don't worry. I'm on the come up. I'm going to get there. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. One of these days, show you guys. I'll show you all.
Show us all. You know who else I saw out here? I saw John Wick passing by.
Hey, they made a movie about him. And today, we're going to do a review of John Wick 4.
There we go.
Oh, before we continue,
ludicrous spoiler alert.
We are going to spoil this movie if you have not seen it. So make sure you see the movie before you listen to this. Or if you're okay with it being spoiled, enjoy. First on our list, we would like to talk about just kind of the overall general themes and the general message of the movie. For those who are not familiar with John Wick, how would you summarize that, Josiah?
Keanu Reeves plays an assassin who got out of the game in an earlier movie. He was a bad man doing bad things, assassinating people at the behest of this shadow organization that's across the globe. Now, he found a woman, he found a way out, which is banned, but he found a way out. He got it through assassinating a number of people that elevated the villain the first movie. That went sour. Wife passed, unfortunate, because bad people can have good things, apparently, in this universe, which is only true half the time, I guess, or fraction of the time, because all these bad people got some really good things, really.
Right.
Yeah, so we get to this film after he has tried to save the hope and the grieving, just a modicum of vengeance for the hope and grieving dog that was given to him by his wife after she passed. Now we're a couple films down the line, and he is trying to figure out a way to get out of the organization for good. Seems like he was trying to get out, trying to bring down the organization as well. So, for this movie, I'll pass it on over to you, Austin, for what you think for the message for number 4.
Yeah, I think the main message of the movie is that redemption is possible, even if highly unlikely. And it's kind of like the message of by any means necessary. You do whatever you have to do. You kill as many people as you need to kill to accomplish your goal. And just as a carryover from the previous films, it starts off with him avenging the death of the dog that his wife gave him and the theft of his car. And then the subsequent films, John Wick 2 and John Wick 3, Parabellum, I believe it's called, they expand the assassin, the hitman universe, underworld, the Continental, and John Wick makes a bunch of decisions in the second and third installments that result in him being on the run. And so now he's just trying to survive. So survival and redemption are kind of the big themes that they're playing around with, whether or not a person can be redeemed or not, and whether a person can escape his plight. He's incommunicado, which means that he's kind of like, he's left for dead. And there's a big bounty put on his head. And throughout the films, that bounty amount increases and increases. And so now, this is the final installment of the John Wick series. And everything kind of reaches a crescendo, or at least that's what they're aiming for. The main themes of this would be escape, redemption, survival, and, are you even able to do those things? Do your circumstances and the world that you exist in allow you to do that? On that point, do you agree with that? Do you see anything different in the way these films are made?
Yeah, I think I agree with the majority of that. There's also the theme, I think, in this film of the collateral damage theme along all these films. So he has, essentially, he made friendships in the past, in his past life.
Right.
But it seems to be that as he's pushed harder and harder against this giant organization, he's brought more and more people into the trauma and into the plight, the struggle, into the line of fire as the movies have gone on. And it started even with the first movie with his friend Marcus, played by the amazing Willem Dafoe, sacrificing himself,
right,
essentially to save him, going against bounty, and Winston, the concierge, played by the rest in peace, the amazing Lance Reddick, and the head and the manager, as well. There's multiple people in each of the movies that seem to be willing to give all that they have also because of what he's done for them in the past. This movie just continues on that theme as well. And so he, through, I want to say, one of the antagonists has this movie through one of the antagonists has kind of nailed in even further the question of, do you stop along your self-righteous path, goal, if you're continuously causing more and more collateral damage to other people that you care about or that cared about you because of what started it all, which was his one truest friend, his wife. Yeah, that's another element I feel as far as the theme. But yeah, I think we're in the right category for summarizing the message of this movie. You're saying for him to keep on going, keep on pressing into the goal that you have. But on the flip side of that is, how much damage are you doing along the way? And is your motive and what's fueling you for that goal worth all of it? And for John in this movie, it seems to be. Yeah, it is one of the things I do struggle with a bit in the John Wick movies, to be honest, because as people will point out, he's massacring droves and hordes of people. I think there was a way we can continue this way. I think there was a way for this movie to have redeemed that for me. I think they do. They try to, but they don't go all the way. I think it fumbles it a little bit, but we'll continue on.
Right. I also think this movie in its own way, is a demonstration of the law of unintended consequences. Second, third, 23rd, 24th, 25th order of consequences that you didn't foresee happening once you set something in motion. So going back to the first movie, once they broke into his house, knocked him out, killed his dog, and stole his car, that set the entire, thematically and like for the purpose of the story, it set the entire world into motion. Because he was out of the world, he got out. Just when I think I get out, they pull me back in, as Michael Corleone said in Godfather Part 3. I also feel like, and I don't know if this is true, but it appears to me that if these folks are watching anime, then they were probably watching Trigun, where you have the titular character, Vash the Stampede, the humanoid typhoon. Everywhere he goes, he just leaves, destruction in his wake. And maybe even Berserk 2, where the main character, Guts, he's just taking out demons, taking out people on his singular mission to avenge his love interest, whose name eludes me at the moment, and fight his best friend / now enemy, Griffith. And the stakes get higher and higher and higher. He's dealing with more and more and more powerful opponents. And that kind of seems to be what's happening with John Wick. And so, yeah, those themes are in play. I would be really curious to see if the screenwriter or the person that created it took inspiration from these anime or mangas that I just referenced. It seems pretty clear to me, but who knows? I don't know. I haven't read anything to suggest that he got his inspiration from anime and manga. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because it seems to be a one-for-one kind of pairing in terms of the motivation of the character and the course of events and how it all unfolds. And so with that, does the message land movie? Like, does it land? Does the theme?
What didn't land? Well,
what do you?
Sorry, you just reminded me. Just taking a half step back. You just reminded me. Yeah, the characters in this film, the characters in this dark world that are going along with John Wick, they're all fighting, including John Wick. They're all fighting for the idea of a pure, good life that he had, that they have to believe in, I think, to not go insane and not break, within this world, this dark world that they're in. They're all holding on to a hope, that same hope that he was given that was robbed from him. They're all trying to buy into that hope that he's trying to achieve by the end of his thing. Sorry, say that once more.
Oh, I was saying, it's like every character is trying to reach paradise through their own means, and they all have their own version or definition of what that paradise is. So for John Wick, it's like he had paradise, it was taken from him, and now his paradise is destroying the entire infrastructure that led to the loss of his paradise. He wants to take out the High Council. He wants to do all these things. And he'll kill anybody that gets in his way.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to kill him. Because in these movies, apparently every other person and their extended grandparents are paid assassins. Which is great, I guess. There's that scene, I think it was from the second movie, where the guy, he snaps or he sends a phone call, and everybody in Central Park, I believe, in New York, they just kind of stop and turn. I was like, all right, you got 3 hours, or you got however many minutes to run with your dog. And then he just kind of hobbles and limps off, and that's the end of the movie, which directly ties into, I believe that's 3. And so it's almost like John Wick is like, he will never have his wife's dog. He'll never have his wife. Wife died through natural means, had some kind of disease, and will never have the keepsake of his wife, the dog. And for that matter, he'll never have his home again. I believe in the second movie, his home is blown up. So he'll never have his life again. He'll never have the thing that he wanted. He'll never get to be a beloved husband, and we'll touch on that in just a second. So it's almost like he had already reached his goal at the end of the series, and now he's like almost regressing in a way. He's working his way almost backwards, and he's just destroying everything that took that reality away from him. And so, because you can't just kill a Russian mafia boss's kid. Once you make that decision, you got to take out the mafia boss. And then that has the consequences of now you have to deal with the High Council. And then now you have to, and then now you have to, and then now you have to. And that's kind of, he's on that hamster wheel. And then everybody else is just trying to make money. They're all out, they want the biggest score so that they can have money. And you see that in the movie too. One of the characters, I believe he's black British gentleman. I'm not sure exactly where his country of origin is. I don't know his name, but one of the hitmen that kind of helps John Wick, which is kind of a callback to Willem Dafoe's character, who kind of helps him in clutch moments. And you don't know if he's a friend or an enemy. He's basically waiting for the bounty to keep going up for it to be worth his time and energy and effort to kill John Wick. But he's there, and his motivation seems to just be money. His stated motivation was, I want this money and I want this into my 401k or whatever. And so everybody else is like either trying to survive the High Council and not get burned by the High Council, or they're trying to get revenge on somebody. We saw that when John Wick reunites with his family, his tribe, his clan, if you will. And he does like a little oath, he brands himself and he becomes part of that, which unfortunately isn't nearly as meaningful in practice as it was symbolically. It was just a means for him to it was like the next MacGuffin for him to get to the next part of the story. And so, most people have, in this movie, kind of one-dimensional objectives. It's power, it's money, or it's revenge.
Yep.
And then John Wick is slightly more complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's trying to destroy the entire apparatus that resulted in the loss of the life that he had got out to enjoy. And so, tearing
it down for something greater.
So I mean, does it
that he had this raw?
Yeah.
But now it's trying to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So go ahead. What didn't work for you?
Right. All right. So so that's the message. That's the theme. That's kind of what's working. And now we're going to talk about what we didn't like about the movie. I would say the biggest thing that I did not like about the movie, I would say, I would categorize it as, I would categorize it in two ways. Either unnecessary characters or characters that had that had potential but constituted a missed opportunity, and setups with no payoff. So, all right, Lawrence Fishburne's character, he just says witty things, and even the witty things that he says don't really land for me. They just seem so forced. It's almost like we're making a John Wick movie, but he's doing a John Wick theater play. And he talks in these grandiose, sound and fury signifying nothing. And he says these like grand, majestic little, little platitudes. And for the little amount that he's actually in this movie, I wish that he had done something or said something more interesting. He's just like setting the tee up for John Wick to do the next thing, which makes him just like every other plot device in this movie or every other MacGuffin, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a missed opportunity. He could have said things that expanded the universe. He could have participated in things. He just could have been more of a presence instead of just saying these big flowery statements all the time. So, and like the acting in that just seemed a little bit forced. It was like a theater performance. And I know that Lawrence Fishburne is a superb actor, but I just don't feel like that was on display in this movie. Like this is not the same person that did Morpheus. This is not the same person that was in Hoodlum or in Event Horizon. You know, like these are like pivotal roles for him. And again, I don't expect him to give an Oscar-worthy performance in a John Wick movie because it's a John Wick movie, but just something less over the top rhetorically. And if he actually did stuff instead of here's your bullet, John Wick, here's your cool gun, here are the specs of this gun, and just gives, you know, like fast action, loading, double cocked action.
Which he had that
combustion engine. Yeah. Now, again, like,
I don't even remember when he used that gun.
I mean, I'm sure he used that gun,
but I'm like, in the millions of guns.
Right. How is it any different from any of the other guns that he did? You know, in practice, it was just a whole lot of fluff to describe a gun that was just like all the other guns. I mean, he's got infinite bullets, so like, okay, we accept the fact he's got infinite bullets. I mean, they show him reloading, but no gun has no assault rifle, no handgun has 50 rounds. You know, like, you know, and that's fine. It's a John Wick movie, right? Like, I don't need to see every single time he reloads. Oh no, he's out of clips. It might have been cool, and in some cases, like I think from a couple henchmen baddies, he, you know, took their clip and, you know, loaded it in. And that's fine. Like, I don't really care about that. I don't need to see every time he reloads unless it's kind of cool and in service to a fight scene. So, okay, that's fine. But they spent a good 45, like Lawrence Fishburne spent a good 45 seconds describing this gun. And this gun was like, it was just a gun. You know?
You already know when he used it. Yeah. You just have to assume he used it at some point. But it's not
the bulletproof, right? The bulletproof suit that he gave him at the end was no different than the other bulletproof that he had for the rest of the movie. So it's just a lot of fluff. It was almost like we got to find something for him to do. You know, he's only on location for a couple days. We got to find something for him to say or to do. You know, I'm like, all right. So there's that. And then there's the concierge manager, who I would describe as regal and statesmanly to a fault. It's almost like he wasn't a real person. He was just like a guy that made regal, you know, formal statements all the time. And, you know, like he didn't have any real emotion. It's like, you know what he's like? He's like that meme of the dog in the burning house. He's like, I'm fine, right? Like he's about to die. His fate is completely and inexorably linked to John Wick's by his own doing. The stakes couldn't be higher in one regard. And he's like, all right, well, have a good time out there. I'm like, bro, like, show me some emotion. Excuse me. Show me some like sense of the gravity of the situation. Like he never changed, and like I can appreciate that consistency and the constancy, but it's like nobody's that regal and that official all the time. It got to a point where it was kind of distracting to me. It was kind of taking me out. And so, and then being like that, the Skarsgård, the villain, he's just a generic bad guy. And that's fine, but yeah, he's super generic. And did we ever find out the Halle Berry
things here and there?
She was not, didn't say anything about her. She didn't die in the last movie, but she was like nowhere to be found or nowhere to be mentioned. So I was like waiting for some reveal of her, especially because they had the one dude with the dog. I'm like, all right, replacing Halle Berry's character. Yeah. Now, as far as character development in general, this is a John Wick movie. So the only person I really expect to have a whole lot of character development is John Wick. Everybody else is just in service to the titular character, John Wick. And so they gave Donnie Yen's character some character development. That was cool. And they gave Hiroyuki Sanada and his daughter, by extension, some character development in the short time they were in the movie. So that's cool. And they even gave the manager a little bit of character development because he had stakes in the plot or in the outcome of what happened with John Wick. But, you know, there wasn't much of that, but that was okay. Okay, so that's my first little bit. Characters that were either
I didn't think you wait their opportunity time, but I don't know that any one of them developed.
Okay, yeah. So maybe they gave them a place in the universe as opposed to like really developing their character. I was happy and now I'm sad because things happen, which ties into something that happened in the past. There was very, very, very little of that. That aside, the other thing, I said it was the characters. Oh yeah, and then just the missed opportunities in the plot in general. And so throughout these movies, you have this idea of the High Council. And in the movie, you never see the High Council. They're always spoken of. They're this mystical High Council thing. And it opens up with John Wick on horseback shooting at, some random Middle Eastern bad guys. I don't know, like just random guys. I mean, their faces are covered, so you don't know who they are. And then you have the guy who I believe was from the second guy, but I think it was played by a different actor. I may be wrong. The guy that in the third movie,
It was. Yeah. Wasn't he the very, very, very top of everything that was in the third movie?
I'm not sure. That gets a little mushy for me. You could be right. So like, all right, so they take him out and it's like, all right, I'm thinking, well, number one, I was thinking that there was going to be 5 movies because it was rumored that there was going to be 5 movies. So I'm thinking, all right, this is one more step on the ladder to getting up to the High Council and taking out the High Council, right? That never happens. We just end with the guy, the Marquis, who's a representative of the High Council, and he acts on their behalf and at their behest, and he's just a generic bad guy. I was like, oh man, like I was hoping that we would see a scene where he finally makes it to the Grand Council and they're all sitting there. And then like, it's one of those scenes where like they throw a dossier in front of them. Oh, this is the pictures of all you. We've been keeping tabs on you this whole time. Look, this is a picture of your birth mother. Here's your birth certificate.
You're taking out the trash. You can check it out anyways.
We've been waiting for you this whole time. We knew you were going to make it. It'd be like one of those generic scenes where you finally get up to the highest mountaintop and then you have to fight Red from the original Pokemon game. You know what I'm saying? And that didn't happen. I was like, come on, man. Like, come on. It looked as if they were setting it up to where it was going to be John Wick and Kane, Donnie Yen's character, the blind swordsman Zatoichi archetype character, and then the daughter of the man that he killed, right? It was going to be 3 of them. And the daughter, who's still mad at Kane for killing her father, it's like, oh, when this is done, I'm coming for I'm slitting your throat kind of thing, right? And then they would all kind of team up and go and take on the High Council. And then that didn't happen. Like I was waiting for John Wick to bring the whole thing down. And maybe I was expecting too much, but that's kind of... if that's what your expectation is going into it, you will be disappointed. And so that's my biggest disappointment. As far as like character development, plot, whatever, those things are as basic as they need to be because, again, it's a John Wick movie. I don't expect Tarantino-esque dialogue or character development. I don't expect Francis Ford Coppola plot development. I don't expect those things from a John Wick movie. I'm going there to see him get in a whole bunch of fights, shoot him up, bang, bang, and, achieve his goal, whatever it is for that movie. And the fact that we didn't see like the whole thing, given the majestic scope and breadth of the cinematography in this movie, which we'll get to in a moment. That's in the section where I talk about the things that I do like. But in this movie, which just absolutely looks beautiful. And again, I'll get into that in a moment. Because he said, like, I'm coming for everybody. John Wick said, like, I'm coming for the High Council. I'm coming for everybody. He's like, when does this all end, John Wick? When they're all dead. Yeah. I'm like, bet. Let's do it. Let's freaking do this.
Exactly.
So yeah, those are my challenges. Those are my big negatives. Yeah. The way character potential and missed opportunity with that, and the missed opportunity with their own setup, with the plot that they themselves set up, the viewer for that they didn't deliver on. So those are my 2 negatives. Those are my 2 thumbs down for the movie. What say you? What when you were watching it, what were the things that just didn't connect for you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try to keep this short. So, the two things I want to say are the length of this movie. And I get it. I get it. Yeah, this was going to be two movies. I have to give it some grace. And John Wick bites the bullet in this film. So they're like, I could see why they wanted to give it more time, why they wanted to pump in more fights, because they're jamming in two movies into one movie. But it was too long. And look, Chad, you'll have an awesome time with Ghost of Tsushima. You better not mess that up. I absolutely love that franchise and that game. This is not giving me good feelings for it outside of the visuals and the fights, but that's a tangent. Too long for this film. They could have cut out a number of fights in there. Look, we're in there for the fights. We're in there for the fights. And I'll say one thing after my too bad that kind of helps to assuage the problems that I have with this film. Man, 2 hours and 49 minutes. I thankfully didn't feel it the vast majority of the time. But like a third of the movie, I was certainly feeling it. There were some fight scenes or the choreography was like looking very kind of theater. I was seeing the choreography, which is fine. Look, we're not superhuman. Keanu Reeves, it's like 20 years older than me or something like that, potentially. He's still making it happen. He's still moving and jiving. But there were some slow fights. There was some like very deliberate looking choreography. Actually, earlier in the movie, it got better. But cut out a couple of those scenes. Just keep it in the sweetest scenes and streamline it to my second point that Austin brought up here. Delivering in on like what is promised. And that is, does he take it all down? Does he burn it all down? Does he bring it down to the ground? Because he is the character, he is the main character who is changing the world around him based on the one hope that of like redemption that he's like pursuing through his vengeance to take down and dismantle this entire system. And it falls unbearably short in that category. It feels like they wanted to appease us by being like, he got his out. That wasn't the whole point. He knew he was going to die in this whole pursuit. But he was going to tear down the entire system to eradicate this evil that's in the world, you know? And look, they can't dance on, they can't take two sides of the same coin and be like, oh man, he's just one man, he can't take it all down. While on the other hand, for 4 movies, he's been one man taking it all down. It's like, man, you slipped up at the end and you forgot your direction for this one character changing the entire world around him. Those would be the two biggest things. But moving on from that, we're gonna jump into the things we liked about this movie. So I'll start off. I'll start off with one of my points. Maybe we can ping pong just a tiny bit. I rewatched the first John Wick movie about a week ago as well with my wife. She hadn't seen it. Much more solid movie in a number of ways, but I still do think that and it is not a giant revelation or anything like that, but once I see this movie as the 90s, thousands action video game that it is, man, it makes the experience so much more enjoyable. Even like you're saying, like some of the side characters, Lawrence Fishburne's Fisher King and Winston, and all the characters more or less, you see them as like, oh man, yeah, these guys are just NPCs. Some of the characters are more prevalent NPCs you come across here and there, but second, Lawrence Fishburne's the dude's like, what are you buying? Here's what I got for you. I got this amazing suit, amazing weapon, or whatever, and I'm gonna take over the underground world. Yes. Then it's like, cool. All right. Now let's continue on with the action with our main character who doesn't need to say anything and it's changed the world around him, and that's totally fine because that's how it is for those types of games. And so, directly connected to that, I didn't know how I felt at first, but I wound up really loving it. There's a scene like 2/3 through this movie where John Wick has almost reached the. I thought he was going to the Eiffel Tower. Maybe he was. Maybe I couldn't fully tell by the end of the movie, but he gets derailed. He gets derailed a couple times, and he winds up in this derelict building. And we see earlier, a call was put out to everybody, like in the previous movie at that park that you were talking about earlier, where everyone in France is on alert to get a good amount of money. But I can't lie that like 20, 30, 40 million dollars all just felt like nothing to go after this dude, to put your life on the line. This dude, I can't lie, but they go after him. You see a guy developing dragon fire bullets, which looks fantastic in this top down action scene that's like 1-to-1 Hotline Miami 1 and 2. Yeah, it's fantastic. And you're like, dang, yeah, man, this is a video game. This is like, you had to develop those dragon fire bullets if you're gonna do this interesting camera angle and like fly above the roof and all these walls and stuff. And you're like looking ahead to see like who's coming where and like what sight lines and stuff he can get. Like, so yeah, once you see this movie as a video game film, man, it completely elevates it. I'll pop on over to you for the next thing.
Okay, so yeah, you saying that makes me think some creative, intrepid individual on the internet is going to come up with like a John Wick 4 supercut from the music from Super Mario World on SNES. So like, he's driving around, running around the Eiffel Tower and the roundabout. Ding 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 ding. Whenever he's talking to Lawrence Fishburne's character or the manager, boom, like it would match perfectly. There's this scene from an episode, where they're like investing their money and like and they're making the bad investments. So the kids have their savings or whatever, and they give it to this financial manager. He's on his computer. All right, and we're just gonna go ahead and invest in these mutual funds and these, diversify these funds, and it's gone, immediately. We made some bad investments and we lost all our money, right? In the same way, all right, John Wick, all right, and he's walking down the road, gets hit by a car, and he's dead. Like, you could almost do a drinking every time that he should be dead. Just in that scene alone, when he's trying to get up to or sunrise, it's like, and you're dead. He gets horse kicked down a flight of 200 some odd stairs, gets to the bottom of it, and you're dead. He jumps out the window and fake.
Dude, they went for it. I love that they went through that.
He face plants into a Volkswagen, beach van, and then hits the asphalt. And like, he could have been dead so many times. Right? Like, I love the fact that like he has this bulletproof suit and he just lifts it up. Like, it's a given that in a John Wick movie, only major vital organs get hit that are not covered by the suit, right? His hand should have been shot up the entire time, right? And I'm assuming that like the suits, magical bulletproof MacGuffin suits, also blunt, like just sheer gravitational impact. So he can like jump out of like the sixth story of a building and hit a metal object that's solid, like, like the roof of a car, and then just hit the asphalt and be like, all right, well, I'm gonna be limping for the next 20 minutes. I mean, I'm guessing that's the way they explain it away. Yeah, this movie
is held
like a video
as the seconds go by.
Yeah. And so, so I mean, that makes it fun, and it's fine, like that's a John Wick movie. It's always been that way, He's driving the car with no doors, no windshield, and no airbags, and it's just, just making contact. I mean, like, where are you trying to go, John Wick? Like, why did you get out of your car? They're all like shooting at him. He does like this. He's popping wheelies, just shooting people, which is super cool. Super cool. But like, it was amazing.
We're an amazing donut.
Oh. Oh my goodness. Like, they looked at the plot and said, screw it, this is a John Wick film. Roll tape, and then they just went for it. And I'm so not mad at them for doing that. Thank you for letting a John Wick movie be a John Wick movie. Because he's getting hit by cars and everything.
Yep.
I mean, one of the most gratuitous deaths was my favorite. It was like the guy gets hit by a car, he's flipping the hair, and John Wick is just bop, 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 before he hits the ground. I'm like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing.
That was awesome.
And so, yeah. Okay, so I like the video game aspect of it, and kind of the invincibility of it. I liked the fight choreography. I like that you have these little the fight choreography kind of plays out like these little vignettes, right? Where like because in real life fights are messy and dirty and disorganized, right? And I like that these movies kind of capture that. And that John Wick is a good fighter, maybe a good martial artist, but he's hitting people with nunchucks. Like, just hitting them, right? Because in real life, you're just trying to win a fight. You're not trying to look cool. Yeah. You're trying to not die, right? Yeah. You're just hitting people with his nunchuck. I'm like, all right, awesome, right? Like they're little.
He looks so
little face are like, yeah, right. And like they're little vignettes because you might spend 45 seconds just trying to handle one guy. And it might take, you might have to shoot him a couple times and then beat him a couple times and get the gun muzzle up inside the mask and bop, 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 And I kind of like that. It was like, this isn't going to be easy. You can't just you can't just do a run and stride by and take these people out. Like, you're really going to have to like stab them or kill them or slit their throat or do whatever. You're going to have to do that. And I feel like this movie captured that really, really well. All right, Josiah. So we talked about a few of the things that we liked about the movie. And just to recap, again, programming note, we did have some technical difficulties. I briefly mentioned that I liked that it was like a video game, and I liked the realistic sense of gravity and the fighting choreography. And, he's using nunchucks, just whacking the guy over the head. And really, just the gravity of the situation and how much effort it took to take out like one henchman. In certain cases, I really enjoyed that aspect. All right, so it's your turn. You tell me one of the things that you liked, and then we'll ping pong back and forth.
Yeah. So another thing that I wound up liking, I did like Donnie Yen's character, and there wasn't enough there for me. However, you could tell that he was having some fun with the character. I liked how he did like a little like winding up of a fist when they punched a dude in the kitchen in Osaka. And there are a couple of the moments where there was some like character personality that came out there. He also was like a bit of a socially awkward dude in different moments, and I think he came across. That said, character based, I liked John as well. Mostly, but like we were talking about earlier in the movie, he's one of those characters where the world is sort of changing around him and he's remaining resolute. But Keanu Reeves still delivering it within the character, knows how the character is, and man, I wish he had some more lines in there. But this is the end of a long journey, so he's become more and more a man of few words. However, I think it fits for that character. But well, what's something else that you like?
All right, so I like the video game aspect of it. I like the action. Let's see. The only other thing I can think of is the big one. And I'm talking the biggest thing that I liked about this movie, my biggest plus, and that is the cinematography. The director of photography for this film, Danish cinematographer Dan Laustin, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. He was the director of cinematography for at least part 2 and part 3. He may have been for part 1 as well. But man, I've never seen, that's not true. It has been a long time since I've seen such majestic use of anamorphic lenses. This movie was shot on RE cameras, and they use super wide anamorphic lens for a bunch of these scenes. And boy, it is a real treat. There are just numerous scenes where just the framing shot is beautiful. I think about like the club, I believe in Germany they were in, and the people are dancing on like a cross-shaped platform, and you have like this beautiful framing shot that you see this big giant cross, and you just see people dancing and bouncing around on it. There's so many scenes where it's a close-up of John Wick himself walking, approaching, maneuvering with his gun in his hand, particularly in that rave scene. You know, the clouds part, the veil separates. You know, the people just kind of let him in a kind of in a visualized symbolic way, and he's just kind of moving. And then next thing you know, someone's coming at him with a hatchet. This is, as I described to you in my text message immediately after I watched the movie, this is the first beautiful John Wick movie. If you like the cinematography and the neon color aesthetic of movies like Bullet Train or Blade Runner 2048 or the Netflix series from Winding Refn, Copenhagen Cowboy, then you're really going to like this. You're really going to like the cinematography in this movie, especially Osaka. Osaka in particular, they made Osaka look amazing with the neon reds. I love that this film gave a Japanese city other than Tokyo the special treatment. Normally you see Tokyo and the Tokyo skyline and all the big buildings and Shinjuku and Shibuya, and that's awesome. That's great. That's lost in translation and a dozen other movies that have setting in Japan. And that's fantastic. I love that. But man, they made Osaka look amazing. And I'm so glad that they did. I'm so glad that the Continental Hotel was a concept that they just made a global thing. So there's Continental hotels all around the world. And if there's mercenaries and hitmen and assassins all around the world, it kind of makes sense. And if the Round Table is this global entity with its tentacles everywhere, then it would make sense they would have a hotel in New York, in Paris, in Tokyo, in Osaka, in this place and in that place. And so I love the way they made Osaka look. I love the montage shots, the framing shots for Osaka. Again, if you like Bullet Train, the Brad Pitt movie, if you love the way that it made train stations and just Tokyo and Japan look in general, you're going to get a real treat out of John Wick 4. The shots of the desert when he's on horseback, beautiful. The shot of the New York skyline, beautiful. This movie was made to be viewed at the highest definition possible on the biggest screen that is at your disposal. If you can go see this at an IMAX theater, at an IMAX screen, go see it that way. That is the way to see it. This is going to look fantastic on your 4K, your 6K, or your 8K screen at home whenever it gets released. Visually, you're really going to be in for a treat. This is a beautiful looking movie.
It really is. It really is. Let me interject there a little bit before we get to wrapping up here. One of the last thing that I'll say that I enjoyed from this movie was not the entire time, but there was some music that really was vibing with me, especially like you're saying in Osaka. Instead of focusing, it was awesome that they focused on Osaka instead of Tokyo, because they always do that. But yeah, they hit that club atmosphere in both of the clubs, but I especially loved the music in the Osaka segment, and I think that whole set piece that went down there was phenomenal. But yeah, the music was the right vibe, and that's what actually cued me into thinking of this movie as a video game movie, because it 100% feels like a Hotline Miami or a Sifu or something like that. Art that is imitating other art that then inspires kind of the same art to be made in sort of a movie format. Now, after that, though, you kind of started touching upon it already. What are the things that you can recommend this movie for someone to go out and watch?
Right. Good question. I would say if you like good cinematography, go see this movie. If you like good fight choreography, go see this movie. If you like Donnie Yen, go see this movie. If you liked Hiroyuki Sanada, Japanese actor extraordinaire, he basically played the exact same role, almost to a T, that he played in Bullet Train. Like, it's almost the exact same character. If you liked Hiroyuki Sanada in Bullet Train, you're going to like him in this movie. If you like the suspension of disbelief and a goofy, silly, fun action movie, you're going to like John Wick 4. And if you like the first 3 installments, or any of the first 3 installments, all of the best parts of those installments are on display in this movie. That's what I would say. This movie is for people that like those components of film and enjoyed the previous John Wick movies. How about you? What do you think?
Totally. Yeah, I would agree in the action set pieces, in the actual fighting, in the actual choreography. You can tell this movie was made by people who that's their strength, that's their forte, and so they put it at the forefront time after time after time. Even though that went on for me, like that kind of action, go in not expecting. This is part of the movie, man. We shouldn't have to say it. Go on not expecting anything outside of that, outside of those kind of performances, and I think you'll find yourself pleased. Last thing I'll say as far as why to go and check out this movie, if you've already been on the ride of John Wick, check this out. If you just love that sort of high octane sort of running gun that's just constant and doesn't stop, hey, this is your movie for you. Thank you for coming on out here and checking us out on podcast here. We're still working through a bunch of things, still trying to figure out our stride and how we're going to be doing this. But yeah, we just love coming and talking about movies with each other and breaking it down and sharing things that we like about films and things that we think could be different. We are not pros in any way, shape, or form, but as all forms of art go, like, yeah, all forms of art up to interpretation, and we like to throw in our opinions here and just have a fun time. Hopefully you had a fun time with us. Come back and check us out some more, please. Anything you want to say in closing, Austin?
This has been the inaugural episode for our future reviews. In the coming days, weeks, and months, we will expand our selection of movies, films, maybe documentaries to review. We are also fans of anime. And so as we grow an audience, we will be fielding requests. I have an idea for maybe reviewing more art house films. We might have, commission reviews for things such as the Criterion Collection, for example, and foreign films, things of that nature. And so we kind of want to run the gamut of different things that we are reviewing, different things that are, at our disposal. And so please stay tuned. We are going to grow and expand and shift and change and adjust. So we appreciate you being on this ride with us. We're going to get better at this with every episode. And so we thank you in advance for your patronage, for your listening, and for your support. My name is Austin.
My name is Josiah. Tell us what you liked about the film in the comments. Share with each other and why you would recommend this to somebody else.
All right. That about does it. Once again, this has been the inaugural episode of the Cinematic Assessment Podcast. Until next time, God bless. Have a great day.
Have a great day.